Kayla Henderson always felt like a shadow in her own school. At just 13 years old, she experienced the cafeteria as a bustling world of noise and laughter, yet she was never part of it. Day after day, she chose a table in the far corner, surrounded by the clatter of trays and chatter from groups of friends. Even with students all around her, she felt completely alone. Kayla's heart sank each time she saw her classmates sharing exciting stories and laughter. While they gathered in large circles, she quietly unwrapped her sandwich, wishing someone would notice her. Her oversized backpack sat next to her like a loyal friend, but it couldn't fill the emptiness she felt inside. As the weeks turned into months, Kayla began to accept her solitude. She spent lunch lost in her thoughts, daydreaming about friendships that felt just out of reach. It was tough for her to walk over to other tables. Fear and uncertainty held her back. Every day was a repeat of the last, until one fateful afternoon. The cafeteria was its usual busy self, but little did Kayla know that a moment of kindness was about to unfold in front of her eyes. Feeling invisible to everyone around her only made her appreciate any small gestures of friendship even more. She often wondered if anyone would muster the courage to cross the social divide and sit beside a girl who sat alone in the corner. But today would be different, and Kayla's life was about to change in ways she could not have imagined. The cafeteria was a lively place, filled with the sounds of trays clattering and students chatting excitedly. Tables were packed with laughter and animated conversations that echoed off the walls, creating a buzz of energy. Groups formed in every corner, and the air was thick with the delicious smell of pizza and fresh fruit. It was a canvas of friendship and connection, yet for Kayla, it felt like watching a world through a glass window, always just out of reach. As she sat tucked away in her corner, the joyous noise seemed to amplify her feelings of loneliness. Each burst of laughter from nearby tables felt like a reminder of what she was missing. She watched as classmates exchanged stories and shared secrets, with bright smiles lighting up their faces. For them, lunchtime was a time of bonding, but for Kayla, it often felt like an hour to endure. The chaotic atmosphere around her contrasted sharply with her internal silence. While others enjoyed playful banter, Kayla remained distant, lost in her own thoughts. Her gaze would drift over the crowd, wondering if she would ever feel accepted enough to join in. With each passing day, she became more accustomed to the solitude that wrapped around her like a thick fog. But even as she adjusted to this isolation, a flicker of hope began to stir deep inside her heart. Little did she know that on this particular day, change was lurking just around the corner, waiting for the right moment to break through her silence. Kayla's struggle to make friends began long before she found herself sitting alone in the cafeteria. She had always been a quiet girl, more comfortable with books and daydreams than with social gatherings. In elementary school, she tried her best to join in games and conversations, but she often felt overlooked or misunderstood. As the years passed, her shyness deepened, making it harder for her to reach out to others. At lunch, the noise of friendships blossoming around her only served as a reminder of the barriers she felt. Kayla watched as classmates formed tight-knit groups, sharing inside jokes and stories that only made her feel more distant. Each time she attempted to join a group, the words got stuck in her throat, and she retreated back to her familiar corner. Her heart would race, torn between the desire for connection and the fear of rejection. Kayla's days at school became a mix of sadness and longing. She often spent her free time drawing in her sketchbook or reading novels, seeking comfort in worlds where friendships were magical and easy. Though these activities brought her joy, they also reinforced her sense of isolation in reality. With each passing day, Kayla learned to navigate the hallways and classrooms with quiet resilience. Yet beneath her calm exterior lay a yearning for companionship that never faded. Little did she know that someone was about to notice her struggle and spark a change she had only dreamed of. Rosa Parks was known around school for her kind heart and strong spirit. Unlike many students, she had a natural ability to connect with others, often making friends effortlessly. With her warm smile and friendly demeanor, she could light up a room and bring people together. Rosa believed in treating everyone with respect and compassion, which made her stand out in the crowd of busy classmates. As she entered the cafeteria that day, Rosa noticed Kayla sitting alone in her usual corner. The sight tugged at her heart. Despite the joyful noise surrounding them, it was clear that Kayla was trapped in her own world of solitude. Rosa had seen Kayla before, always quiet, always distant, but today felt different. Something inside Rosa urged her to take action. Determined to make a change, Rosa's mind raced with ideas about how she could reach out to Kayla. She didn't want to just think about it. She wanted to do something meaningful that could brighten Kayla's day. With each step toward the far corner of the cafeteria, Rosa felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. She understood that breaking social barriers wasn't easy, but she also knew that kindness could create new paths. As she approached Kayla's table, a wave of courage washed over her. This was more than just sitting next to someone. It was about showing that everyone deserved friendship and connection. Rosa quietly dragged her chair, and the whole table, across the cafeteria, ready to bridge the gap between two worlds that had remained apart for too long. With unwavering courage, Rosa approached Kayla's corner, her heart pounding in her chest. Determined to break through the barrier of isolation that surrounded Kayla, she seized the moment. Without hesitation, Rosa grasped the edge of her chair and pulled it back, a small yet significant act that captured the attention of students at nearby tables. As she dragged her chair across the floor, the screech of metal against tiles cut through the usual lunch chatter. Heads turned, and whispers began to ripple throughout the cafeteria. A few students shot curious glances at Rosa while others stopped mid-conversation, drawn in by her unexpected movement. It was unusual to see anyone disrupt the status quo like this, and tension grew as they evaluated what would happen next. But Rosa didn't stop at just her chair. Embracing her boldness, she reached over and pulled the entire table along with her. It was a spectacle. Students gasped as trays and drinks wobbled precariously on top. The unlikely scene unfolded slowly. Time seemed to pause as everyone processed what was happening. They watched in stunned silence as Rosa moved determinedly toward Kayla's corner. Once she was finally settled beside Kayla, Rosa glanced around at their peers. In that moment, nothing else mattered but reaching out to someone who needed friendship. Those watching felt a mixture of confusion and admiration, unsure how to react but utterly captivated by this brave act of kindness. Then came a soft murmur of conversation. Some began to smile while others exchanged whispers of approval. It felt like a spark had ignited in that bustling cafeteria, an awakening of compassion and connection that had been desperately needed. As the scene unfolded, Mr. Lewis Greene, the cafeteria worker, stood behind the serving counter, serving trays and plates with a practiced hand. He sensed a shift in the atmosphere that day, one that felt different from the usual lunch rush. With his years of experience observing students, he could recognize moments of significance when they occurred. When Rosa dragged her chair and table toward Kayla, his heart swelled with hope. Mr. Greene paused, taking in the sight of this brave gesture unfolding before him. He noticed how students who once filled the room with boisterous laughter were now whispering to one another, captivated by Rosa's unexpected act of kindness. The silence that had settled over the cafeteria seemed almost sacred, as if everyone was holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. In that moment, Mr. Greene reflected on the importance of connection and how small actions could create ripples of change. He remembered his own days in school, grappling with loneliness and longing for acceptance. Watching Rosa reach out to Kayla reminded him of the power of empathy and courage in a world where isolation could often overshadow understanding. Sometimes it just takes one brave soul to make a difference, he thought to himself as he continued to serve lunch. The students' reactions were slowly shifting from confusion to admiration. Smiles began to emerge as they processed what they had witnessed. Mr. Greene felt a warmth spread through him as he sensed a new sense of community starting to form in the cafeteria, reinforcing the idea that kindness could spark transformation. As Rosa settled into the chair beside Kayla, a profound silence enveloped the cafeteria. The once boisterous chatter faded away, leaving only the remnants of clattering trays and the soft rustle of napkins. Students sat with wide eyes, processing the unexpected scene unfolding before them. It was as though time had slowed down, and in that fleeting moment, Everyone in the room felt a sense of shared awareness that transcended their individual cliques. Some students exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from confusion to admiration. Whispers traveled through the air as they contemplated the significance of Rosa's brave act. They had witnessed something powerful, a breaking of barriers, an opening of hearts. In a place where friendships often felt exclusive and rigid, Rosa's gesture created a ripple effect, prompting others to reflect on their own behaviors and choices. Kayla, who had always felt invisible, was suddenly at the center of attention. The students who once ignored her now looked on with curiosity and interest. The atmosphere had transformed from one of separation to unexpected unity. A few students began to smile, and soon laughter broke through again, but this time it was warmer and more genuine. This wasn't just about Rosa sitting with Kayla. It was a movement toward kindness that resonated deeply within the hearts of those watching. The cafeteria workers exchanged knowing glances, recognizing that a small act could spark a change in how everyone interacted. Hope blossomed in that moment, and for the very first time, Kayla felt like she belonged, not just to herself but to a community that was beginning to embrace her. As Rosa settled into the chair next to her, Kayla felt a rush of emotions. At first there was shock. She blinked in disbelief, unsure if this moment was real. Was someone really sitting with her? It felt like a dream, and her heart raced with a dizzying mix of hope and confusion. For so long, she had accepted her solitude as part of her daily life, and the sudden shift left her momentarily speechless. As she glanced over at Rosa, Kayla's surprise began to evolve into a torrent of questions. Did Rosa really want to be friends with her? Why would someone as friendly as Rosa choose to sit with someone who had always been alone? These thoughts swirled in her mind as she tried to navigate through the jumble of unfamiliar feelings. But then, slowly, joy began to bloom within her. Kayla looked at Rosa's warm smile. The sincerity radiating from her made all the doubts fade away. It was as if a light had been turned on in the darkness of her heart, illuminating the friendship that was now blossoming before her. The warmth spread through her chest, making her feel alive in a way she hadn't experienced in years. A sense of belonging washed over Kayla like a gentle wave. She couldn't help but smile back at Rosa, feeling a flicker of warmth in return. This simple act of kindness had shifted everything for her. It showed that friendship was possible and that she was worthy of being included. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and joy, Kayla Henderson no longer felt invisible. She was finally part of something beautiful. Rosa's decision to sit with Kayla was fueled by more than just kindness. It was a deep-seated belief in the importance of speaking up against social norms that often left others feeling isolated. In a cafeteria where cliques were firmly established, and most students stuck to their familiar groups, Rosa recognized the unspoken rule that often ignored those who didn't fit in. She had been observing Kayla from a distance, witnessing the loneliness etched on her face day after day. It tugged at her heartstrings, compelling her to act. By dragging her chair and the entire table across the room, Rosa not only reached out to Kayla but also challenged the status quo. Her boldness inspired many students who had been afraid to stray from their own circles. This act sent a message that kindness should prevail over judgment, and that everyone deserved friendship, no matter their situation. Students watched Rosa's actions unfold with varied reactions. For some, this was a wake-up call, a reminder that they had the power to make choices that fostered inclusion rather than exclusion. Others felt inspired to reconsider how they interacted with classmates who might be struggling. As laughter and conversation began to bloom once more in the cafeteria, many looked toward Rosa and Kayla, seeing them not just as individuals but as symbols of change. The seeds of compassion were being planted, shifting how friendships could be formed and nurtured within the school community. Rosa's small act of kindness sparked a ripple effect, reminding everyone present that courage in the face of social norms could create uplifting connections where they were once absent. As the laughter and chatter resumed around them, Kayla felt a warmth spreading through her chest, making her heart flutter with excitement. For the first time, she was not just an observer but an active participant in the vibrant life of the cafeteria. Rosa's presence beside her felt like a lifeline, pulling her out of the shadows of isolation and into the light of companionship. Kayla glanced at Rosa, who was beaming with a friendly smile, and felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She realized that this small act of kindness had initiated a profound change in her life. What had once felt impossible, having a friend, was now unfolding before her eyes. She began to share her thoughts and feelings, slowly letting down the walls built from years of loneliness. Rosa listened intently, encouraging Kayla to express herself. The conversation flowed naturally, filled with laughter and understanding. They discovered shared interests, from favorite books to hobbies, as if they had known each other for much longer than just a few moments. For Rosa, sitting with Kayla wasn't just about reaching out. It was about creating a meaningful connection that challenged the social barriers she had observed. She felt proud to have made a difference in someone's life, knowing that this moment would spark a beautiful friendship between them. As the lunch period came to an end, both girls exchanged phone numbers, promising to meet again the next day. In that instant, they both understood that they were no longer alone. They had taken the first step toward building a lasting friendship that would enrich their school experience and beyond. In the aftermath of Rosa's courageous act, a noticeable shift began to ripple through the cafeteria. The initial stunned silence transformed into a buzzing energy, as whispers filled the air. Students who had previously sat in their familiar cliques paused to look around, reevaluating their choices. They witnessed the bond forming between Kayla and Rosa and felt inspired to reflect on their own behavior toward those who often sat alone. A few classmates, emboldened by Rosa's example, began to shift their seats, engaging with others they had previously overlooked. Laughter erupted at different tables as old barriers crumbled, making room for new connections. One girl who usually stuck to her group found herself walking over to another table where a boy often sat alone, inviting him to join them for lunch. It was a simple gesture, but it resonated deeply with everyone watching. Meanwhile, whispers of admiration for Rosa's bravery spread like wildfire among students. Some began to talk about how they could create a more inclusive environment, where kindness took precedence over social pressures. A group of boys agreed to sit with a classmate who had always been on the outside looking in, recognizing the need for change. As the lunch hour progressed and new friendships blossomed across the room, Mr. Greene watched this transformation with pride. He understood that an act of kindness could spark something far greater than one girl's moment of courage. It had ignited a wave of empathy that prompted everyone in the cafeteria to reconsider not just who they chose to sit with, but how they treated each other, a shift toward community and connection that would continue long after this day. The story of Kayla and Rosa serves as a powerful reminder of the impact that kindness and inclusion can have on individuals and communities. In a world where social norms often dictate who interacts with whom, it takes a courageous heart to break these barriers and reach out to those who feel alone. Rosa's simple act of moving her chair to sit beside Kayla not only changed Kayla's life but also inspired countless others to reconsider how they treat their peers. This moment teaches us that small gestures can create significant change. By choosing to be kind, we can encourage others to do the same, fostering an environment where everyone feels valued and included. Each of us has the power to make a difference in someone else's life, whether it's by inviting a classmate to join our table or simply offering a smile or kind word. As we reflect on this story, let us think about our own actions and behaviors. Are we creating spaces where everyone feels welcome? Are we willing to step outside of our comfort zones to include those who may be overlooked? The cafeteria scene transformed from one of isolation into a vibrant community filled with laughter and friendship, and that transformation began with Rosa's boldness. In our daily lives, let's strive to embody the spirit of Rosa's act of kindness. Let's make it a point to reach out, build connections, and support one another, knowing that our actions can resonate far beyond the moment and inspire others to join in creating a more inclusive world for everyone.